To commemorate the founding of New Orleans in 1718, WYES presents this Tricentennial moment in celebration of our city's past and present.
533 Royal Street is in some ways the flagship building of the historic New Orleans collection, and it has an interesting and storied history as a building. It dates from 1792, which falls right in between the two great fires of the late 18th century, one in 1788, one in 1794. And so as a survivor of that second great fire, it stands with few others as 18th century examples of New Orleans architecture in the French Quarter. The house was built by Jean-François Mériault, a French merchant living in Spanish Louisiana. It was a grand house for his business and his family, and as is typical of the era, business was conducted on the ground floor and the family lived above.
From shop to bank, the next owners of the building focused on finance.
The Lizardi brothers, as bankers, not only conducted their business in the property, they expanded and renovated Mériault's warehouse into what we call today the counting house. It was their principal banking.
My favorite unusual thing in the Mériault house is in the counting house, in the back wall. Hidden behind one of the pillars is a mid-18th century architectural feature. It's a wrought iron thistle. It's kind of this spiky wrought iron piece that would have been in the window or in the wall of a mid-18th century forge or blacksmith shop.
Through the years, the building changed hands and eventually emerged as a hotel. But the next owners would ensure a brighter future.
Kemper and Little Williams acquired the complex at 533 Royal Street in the late 1930s, and by the mid-1940s were living in the buildings as their principal residence in the city. They continued to live there until the middle 1960s, and at their deaths in 1966 and in 1971 for Kemper Williams, the Historic New Orleans collection was established by the foundations they had created during their lifetimes.
The Williamses were preservationists. They purchased these buildings because somebody needed to buy them, they thought, so that they wouldn't be destroyed. And they recognized, though, that simply purchasing a few buildings in the French Quarter wasn't enough to save the French Quarter from demolition. At that time, the mid-20th century, the French Quarter was very much a threatened place.
The Williamses would entertain often, inviting their friends to see the beauty and merit of the French Quarter.
Today, the Mériault House contains the Louisiana History Galleries of the Historic New Orleans collection, where the public can come and through a self-guided tour or with the assistance of our visitor services staff, get a glimpse of Louisiana's history in a series of 11 different rooms that cover the time period from the pre-colonial era to the 21st century.
One of the highlights is the documents of transfer of the Louisiana Territory from France to the United States. With its initial use as a shop and residence, today 533 Royal is in its own way still a home that welcomes all of us to share in the city's rich history.
WYES's New Orleans Tricentennial Moments are brought to you by the Miro Foundation and presented in association with the Historic New Orleans Collection.